Gambling has always been a part of human society. I'm sure you've heard stories of people losing their homes, cars, or thousands of dollars because of it. On the flip side, you may know people who seem to do well at gambling and walk away with big wins. Regardless, since the rise of the internet, online gambling has exploded in popularity. If you watch a sports game today, you'll likely see companies like Underdog, FanDuel, or DraftKings showing betting odds. Many YouTubers and independent creators now take sponsorships from these companies, offering sign-up bonuses for anyone using their code. In other words, online betting is everywhere. The advertising clearly works. According to a report published through Science Direct by the Lancet Public Health Commission, an estimated 80 million adults worldwide struggle with some form of a gambling disorder. So in a world where gambling addiction is already widespread, why are even more people willing to take these risks today? Before we continue and dive into this, grab your Shiesty, your black Air Force Ones, and your luggage, because we're going to Georgia. Unfortunately, no, it isn't the one with Atlanta, but we're going to the country of Georgia, located in the Caucasus region of Eastern Europe, faces significant economic challenges, including corruption and high income inequality. One way to measure inequality is the Gini coefficient, which ranges from 0, perfect equality, to 100, complete inequality. According to the most recent year available in this chart, 2021, Georgia's Gini coefficient was 34.2. More recent World Bank data shows that it declined slightly to 33.5 in 2022. This was actually the best score the country had seen in 26 years, yet still worse than the overall European average, around 29.6. The average monthly salary in Georgia is around 1,636 GEL, about 610 US dollars. And that number includes the country's small percentage of high earners. You might be wondering why any of this matters. Well, when you look at gambling in Georgia, something stands out. Georgians gamble a lot. A lot. A 2022 report by Tornike Mandaria, whose name I pray that I got right, a member of an anti-gambling advocacy group, estimated that 350,000 to 600,000 Georgians were problem gamblers. At the time, Georgia's population was under 4 million. Using the 2025 population estimate of about 3.7 million people, that would mean roughly 9 to 16% of the country is struggling with a gambling addiction if those numbers remained accurate. These figures are debated, but some experts argue that reliable gambling data in Georgia is extremely difficult to obtain. The cultural evidence strongly suggests gambling is widespread. If you don't believe me, I'll link some videos by a YouTuber named Gattsu, who lives in Georgia and has talked about this issue many times in his videos firsthand. Another historic example of people turning to gambling during hardship is horse racing in the United States during the Great Depression. And before we continue, if you guys didn't already know about this, please go ahead and leave a like. I didn't know about horse racing during the Great Depression until I did research for this video. So, if I taught you something, go ahead and leave a like, maybe subscribe, But moving on, before the Depression hit, inequality in America was already extremely high. The top 1% of Americans received about 23.9% of all pre-tax income, and the top 5% controlled a disproportionate share of national wealth. Similar to modern inequality patterns, profits flowed mostly to shareholders and owners, while workers received very little in comparison. This inequality wasn't the sole cause of the depression, but it was an important contributing factor that worsened the impact on millions of Americans. So during the Depression, state governments were desperate for revenue. Many responded by legalizing pari-mutuel horse race betting. Not general sports betting as we know it today, that was still illegal, but you could bet on horses at a racetrack. In exchange, these states would impose large taxes on betting operations to help refill their empty state budgets. For everyday Americans, racetracks offered something rare during those years: affordable entertainment and a sliver of hope. Even as poverty spread, people continued showing up at races, placing small bets on horses that might change their fortunes. Ooh. As more states legalized betting, the number of licensed racetracks in the United States grew dramatically, nearly 70%, and attendance surged. So with all this history in mind, it raises a question: why is the United States seeing a surge in gambling at the start of the 21st century? I mean, the internet's been around forever. We've had ways to online gamble. Why is it now, at the start of the 21st century, starting to explode? Economists Emmanuel Saez and Gabriel Zuckman, whose work was featured in the New York Times, show that a share of wealth held by the top 0.1% of U.S. households was 10.8% in 2021. By 2025, that number has climbed to about 13.6%. Looking deeper, if you're not in the top 10% of Americans, you collectively hold 74.55% of all liabilities in the country. Meanwhile, the top 0.1% hold only about 1.2% of all liabilities. The top 10% own over half the nation's assets, while the bottom 50% own only about 5.46%. It's no surprising the wealth gap keeps growing as inequality rises. Many people fear the possibility of another recession or something even worse. Continuing in America, according to the American Gaming Association, also known as the AGA, 57% of Americans participated in some form of gambling last year, 30% of them visiting a casino, and 21% of them placing a sports bet either online or at physical venues. Meanwhile, the data attributed to the American Psychiatric Association, the APA, suggests that about 28% of Americans place at least one bet daily, though this figure is debated and likely reflects a survey of gamblers, not the entire population of the United States. Even though this video focuses on online gambling, casinos themselves have seen an increase in visitors over the last 3 years. As online gambling becomes normalized, casinos may be directly benefiting from that cultural shift. After all, if you're comfortable placing a $5 bet on your phone at home, it's not a huge leap to place the same bet while hanging out with some friends in a casino. And before we end this video, this isn't saying that the average Georgian or American in 2025 live the same life or have the same struggles, or even that people in these countries live close to what people in America experienced during the Great Depression. But these examples show a pattern. People in unequal, financially strained environments often turn to gambling, whether out of hope, entertainment, or desperation. And with online gambling being legalized in 2018, it becomes easier to turn to gambling in the USA than ever before. With inflation rising again and with cost of living, childcare, and home ownership continuing to climb, we may see the percentage of Americans who gamble increase even further in the years ahead. Anyways, it's been Dada Drewski. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all in the next upload. Goodbye.